Welcome to Hotspur Way Podcast, Season 2, Episode 9. Now, we've got Spooky on. And Spooky,
yes,
we've got Marios from Limassol. And he says that you claim to be the goat. Now, he says he owns some goats. He's never tried putting fish fingers up their bum. But he asks, if you are a goat, seeing as you claim to be, how many fish fingers can you put up yours?
Probably like a pack of bird's eye, the normal size ones.
So you put the whole pack up there, or one by one individually? You don't know why we're asking this, do you?
I have no idea, mate. This is like. Yeah, this is. I'm blushing. You obviously, you can't see that on a podcast. It'd probably be easier, as hard as it might be, to lube up and get the entire pack up there in one go. But it'd probably be better to because it's all in the pack, so you haven't got any kind of fish fingers that you forget to pull out afterwards. So you got to think about the cleanest process of doing this. So
they would be frozen.
Can I not just stick them up a goat's backside? Isn't that just a little bit easier?
Well, he says you are the goat. I agree with him. So
I might have to retract that now.
Oh, there you go. And
mate, fish fingers belong on like bread and butter. Do you know what I mean? Like or toasted or otherwise. What are you guys doing?
Do you know what the best fish finger meal I've ever had is?
Go on.
So what they've done is they've got some soy sauce, mixed some honey in it. So they've fried some fish fingers, right? And then they've put them down. James, you're going to love this. They've got some oil. It's actually oyster sauce, soy sauce, and honey. And then they've like pasted them, and then they've covered them in caviar. Bloody hell, are they delicious! Anyway, Costas, who is green and gold, he says.
Mate, what is this? What is going on here? Green fish fingers.
Sorry,
up my
not green and gold. Purple and gold. Sorry, purple and gold. He says
he's green and gold. He's green if he's sticking those things up his backside. See that much.
Costas today said, "When I see him, I'll do him," and he was joking, of course.
I don't think he was.
No, he was. He was joking. He is so purple and gold. It's unreal. Like, for instance, when we concede a corner, he screams for Lever to be gone. He's one of those guys.
So is this someone that you watch football with in?
Oh, I don't. So I go to a pub called Monderno in Limassol, right? And I call it a pub. It's an old man's pub. And what happened, there's loads of screens and I am sat and I will not let anyone else watch it with me because I cannot take them. I will fight them all. So I watch it by myself and then they've got the other lot watching it like all together, but I can still hear them. And it does my nutting, honestly, every single... Like they were moaning and calling for Levy out when we were 3-0 up at Old Trafford against Man U. And this is... You know when you do that voice, you know when you do that accent, it basically sounds like one of the baddies in Star Wars, the one that you do. Can you do it quickly? Can you just like...
Who, me?
Yeah. When you go, oh, you impersonate them. Right. Yeah. When you sound...
I can't do it now.
Oh, go on.
It's always improvised. I've got to get into character to do that.
Well, I can get into character. We have just scored 7 against Arsenal at the Emirates, let's just say, hypothetically. We've conceded a corner. There's 10 seconds to go, and they're bitching about Daniel Levy. They're bitching about the high line. What do they sound like? Whenever you're ready.
Right, okay. Yeah, we conceded a corner, have we? A corner? Oh, that's not going to look good on the stats. That's Levy's fault. If we had better defenders, we wouldn't have conceded that corner. That's ruined the game. See, this is what happens when you force someone to do comedy. It doesn't work, mate.
I'm going to clip that up and send to Costas. And what I'll
just edit that out. Do not share it with anyone. I don't even want to listen to that on the pod when it gets released.
We've got about 11 listeners. Maybe if you post this out on your socials, we may have 15, which is great. But look, I that's what they sound like. Bitching, and we were 3-0 up at Old Trafford. And I'm just shaking my head because all I can do, I want to go over and fight them all. But at the moment, I can't. My left side, I haven't really, basically I've got a spine problem. My left side doesn't work. And I can't if I was going to fight them all, I'd lose, and I don't want to do that. So I'd have the op first, and then I'll fight them because I'm sick and tired of them. And this is the impersonation of Twitter, but in real life. Imagine that with with Cypriot DNA. That's what I need to say. So, go on.
Yeah, I mean, no, I was just going to say, look, don't take life too seriously. That's a message to everyone. Football shouldn't be this religious kind of cult experience, and it obviously is. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I don't think about football more than anything else in my life. Right, every single day is football. Even if you're working or you're with family or whatever, you're going to think about Tottenham. But there's extremes that you can take it to, and I think you're making a bad life choice if you're choosing to be angry and upset about the one thing that's meant to be an escapism, because you've kind of lost touch with what it's meant to be about. And that's me preaching a little bit. I'm not saying do what I do. You do you, but you're doing it wrong. Is my opinion. Anyway, that's it.
Exactly, mate. So we played a game on Sunday, and Jaymes, what were you feeling before the game?
I was feeling pretty confident, to be honest. I was feeling quite excited, really, because United are fucking wank, and we really proved it. We really just opened their mouths, shat in it. It was great. I was very excited for the game, because I just knew this would happen.
Do you think that we're onto something now?
Oh, 1,000%. I think this is like, what was it? That 1-0 game, or no, 2-1 win for Poch against Villa those years ago. That's what Sadler and things started to tick around a bit.
Yeah.
It felt like that. Like, okay, right, that's the performance we needed. It is proper galvanising, because I don't think we've had a result.
Can I just interrupt? The Big Six. Spooky, just use your word. Did you hear that?
No, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. I don't actually own the copyright to it, unfortunately. But
what was the word?
Galvanising.
Galvanising. I love it.
It is a good word, and it is a strong word.
It is. It is a very strong word. Go on.
That's the one you want the gaffer to pull out in the morning meetings. That gets you going. But yeah, no, it just felt like just the start of something. And I know we've heard it a few times, but when you read the Ange book, like it reads about, how like he gets questioned, things aren't working, they call for his head, the media starts trying like pounce, and then it clicks, and it didn't just click, like it really fucking clicked. Like it was, I'd say, a perfect performance, to be honest.
Right, so Spooky, question for you
Go for it.
From Jaymes02THFC. He says,
I hope it doesn't involve frozen food.
No, this one's straightforward. So he says, were United bad, were we great, or was it something in between?
It doesn't. See, this is the thing about any given football match, right? Okay, we all watch the same thing, and there's 1,000 different ways of reacting to it. Obviously, pundits, the media, Man United fans are going to focus on the fact that they were terrible. And they were. They were not very good. But this is no different to, say, Spurs going up to Newcastle, dominating, but not being able to score and losing 2-1. Do Newcastle do Newcastle care, rather, that we failed to punish them with the dominance that we had on the ball? And we can go away and say we deserved more, but at the end of the day, we did not get the 3 points. Now, often we've had to put up with Spurs not getting the result and the other team being glorified, especially on TV when we're playing a lower level team. They often, the pundits, the commentators, they revel in the fact that Spurs have just lost this game to a Brighton or whomever. So we go up to Man United. It's not up to us to kind of say, well, hold on a minute, lads. Can we just lower the pace and the tempo of the game because United aren't up to scratch? Let's give them about 20 minutes. Let's let them have the ball so they can figure out. Fuck them. No one cares. We went up there and we played our football, and regardless of how they played and the red card, even if it was a yellow card and he hadn't been sent off, even if they played a little bit better, 10% better than they did, 20% better, we still would have won that game. It was just impossible to stop the Tottenham press. And to be fair, I think they were absolutely rattled. It was compounded. They're not a very well-coached team. They don't have an identity. I don't care. We're going there to win. And the onus was on us, supposedly, to relieve the pressure off our manager. Ange had to get a result. So I don't really care about those details. I care about how Spurs performed like that every week, and we're really not going to be talking about a lot of defeats between now and the end of the season, because we will beat most teams playing that football, even teams that are several levels above what Man United produced.
Yeah, I think the technical term is we slapped them, and I mean, watching the way that we played, we had a pattern, we had a flow, we had a strategy, we knew what we were doing. And again, because I'm really sick and tired of people saying Ange doesn't tweak, right? You could see the tweaks. You could see that our fullbacks were tucking in. You could see that we were stopping them. I saw things in that game that I haven't seen I would say for about 10 matches from our players. And I've said it a lot. I mean, Jaymes will know this. I strongly believe in the word belief. And it's starting, I think the players are starting to believe. And when that happens, sky's at the limit. Whatever is above sky, stratosphere and whatever, you can just go on from there. And I've got a feeling, it's Brighton next, isn't it? I mean, we'll do some predictions. And we've got... Yeah. I can't pronounce. Is it Ferencváros? I don't know what they're called.
Yeah, no, that's about right. Don't ask me to pronounce it. I'll go with yours.
The F word team from, where are they from? Are they from Hungary?
Hungary.
Yes, they are, mate.
They are the Hungarian champions, right? So we've got them up next, and then Brighton. The Brighton game is going to be an interesting one. I think we'll see more tweaks there. Anyway, we'll talk about that a bit later. But whether it was a red, whether it wasn't, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I don't think they would have come away with a draw, right? And then you can say, yeah, but if you're saying that wasn't a red, then we can say, well, if Xerxes, or whatever his name is, scored, but he didn't score, and your player did get sent off. So let's just go with what we know. Let's go with the facts. And we dicked you. We slapped you. And that's the way it is. And we look like the home team. And it was embarrassing.
I think it's... No, I was just going to say, it's just a good comparison to... I know it's a small game sample, right? That's the new buzz phrase at the minute. How many games have we got to sample from? It's only 5 games. It's only 5 games. And people were saying that early in the season, and they're saying it now for both sides of the argument, right? Like, oh, we're not playing really well. It's like we haven't got started yet. We're playing really well. Don't say anything until we've played 10, 15 games. But the reality is, you need to have confidence in your manager in what he's trying to do, and I think there's no dispute from the first day that he got here. You know what Ange Postecoglou is trying to do, and removing the emotional baggage from the back end of last season, where it kind of all fell apart because of injuries and the rest of it. You look at this season, you can still see what he's trying to do, and it's actually working. You look at Man United as a comparison. I guess my point is that's a team with an identity crisis. That's a team where you should be questioning the manager.
100%.
And that's why I just think it's wasted energy from the purple and gold people or any given person that is going to worry about the process of growth. It's a very, very harsh learning curve, right? You don't get a lot of time as a Premier League manager, and you need to get results quickly. Or else. And there's nothing that we're doing at the minute that would suggest that we are not on the right track. So what's the worst that can happen? It does fall apart and we lose the manager and we get a new one. That is literally the cycle of football. So just enjoy what's happening now, because if you don't enjoy the journey, when you get to the destination, you're going to look back and think, how the fuck did I get here? So That's my philosophy for the day.
Well, the thing is, right, last year, and I've said this for ages, listen to Ange. because he's not one of these people who says one thing, does another, right? And he will throw out tidbits, and there was a few of them last season. And one of them was, we need to get into a rhythm of playing more than once a week. He says something along those lines, right? And we're seeing that now. We're seeing his philosophy bed in game after game. It's becoming thick and fast. And I can't wait for Thursday. I guess it's on Sunday. Is the Brighton game on Sunday? I should know this.
Yeah.
Right. So I can't wait. I hope it doesn't make too many changes for the F team, because that's not always great due to the rhythm, right? Because it's not just rhythm of strategy, it's rhythm of knowing where your man's going to be, the guy that's next to you, the guy that's playing 30 metres ahead of you. You need to know that as well. Do you know what I mean? But do you want to say something, mate? Are you going to come in?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think English clubs don't have a great record against Hungarian clubs. I think it's like 1 win in 10. I think I saw something earlier today. But Ange did beat them, I think, twice when he was at Celtic. So, I mean, you're right. We've got to protect the momentum and the shape of the team. And we've seen already this season how it can go really wrong, against Coventry, if you make loads of changes. So,
well, look, before Jaymes comes in and gives us a whole song and dance about Kulusevski, which I'm really looking forward to, I've got a really useful stat about Hungary. So, and I've actually tested this, so I know it's true. Learning Hungarian is more difficult than learning Mandarin. It's actually more difficult. Many people have said it's actually it's probably the most difficult language to learn if you're English. And it is.
Wow,
it is.
First time I've heard that.
Yeah, I know. It's just Google it. You can see it. It's so impossible to learn. It's so difficult to learn. So my doctor, Anna, she's lovely. She studied there, and she said trying to learn it was impossible. And so what she had to do was basically just ask her mates. She couldn't do it. There was no way of her trying to learn that language. So yeah, useless stat, mate. Go on. Yeah, go on.
No. I mean, I'm better off Googling this. What's the origins of the language then? Because usually languages are like a mixture of different prior languages and cultures.
I'll tell you what. I've got Bob. So Bob is, we've got a customized version of ChatGPT, right? And we call it Bob. And I'm going to ask Bob. So, hi, mate. So immediately he says, hi, James, how's it going? Which is great. Why is Hungarian so difficult to learn?
People screaming now. Why did you ask that question, Spunky? I don't fucking care.
And what? We'll make it fish fingerless in a minute. And what are the origins of the language? Let's see what Bob says. Right. Hungarian is often considered one of the most difficult languages to learn for several reasons. Complex grammar, flexible word order. So, unlike English, Hungarian has a relatively free word order. He goes into explain that. I'm not going to say that here. Vocabulary and lack of cognates, punctuation, pronunciation, idiomatic expressions. Origin of Hungarian. Hungarian belongs to the Uralic language family. Never heard that. Which also includes Finnish and Estonian. Though they're not mutually intelligible. Anyway, if you want to know more, if you want to know more of that, just ask me and I'll post this on.
If that's irritated the purple and gold listeners, then I'm winning. That doesn't matter. I'm glad I asked that question now.
All right, Costas, I'm on to you, mate, on Sunday. He's listening to this. So all of them, actually. All right, so Jaymes, over to you about Kulusevski. You've got some stats, haven't you? You've got an interesting stat, which we found out earlier. You want to talk about... Go on then. Go for it.
There's a good few interesting stats about Becky, isn't there? He was on fire.
Before you start, can I just say something? We're all in agreement that right now, he is our best player, right?
Yeah.
1,000%. I think he was robbed of man of the match on the weekend.
Yeah, so do I. But then again, a centre back who does that, because everyone, I mean, even Flav was saying it. You name me, like, can Gabriel or Saliba do what he did? No, they can't. They can't. I mean, he has that extra dimension. Anyway, sorry, go on, mate. Over to you.
Yeah, no. So Dejan Kulusevski, he's recorded the most chances created against Manchester United at Old Trafford in the last season, the last 2 seasons, the last 3 seasons.
It's ever.
Ever. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's ever.
Since records have been recorded, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's fucking outrageous. And you think the likes of players that have like graced the Premier League and that pitch, you've had like likes of Henry, De Bruyne, the Eriksen in his prime, and there's going to be others that I'm just too young to think of right now. But yeah, like it goes to show he was on it, and I think he's one of those players the Arsenal fans would like to call like a mentality monster. He's someone who just, I feel lately, especially now he's been moved to the middle of the pitch. I think we've sort of seen it in flashes this season, and when he was playing false nine in pre-season as well. He really just comes alive. Like he's like, this is my game. Like he really is starting to own like the pitch now and make the position his own. He has a lot of physicality as well as the creative side to his game, and I think we would be, quite lost without him so far this season.
Can I make a radical claim? He's 23. Is he 24 actually? How old is he?
I think he's 23 still.
Right. So, because we've got the GOAT on, and I think you can answer this one, mate, Spooky.
Go on.
Do you believe that it's possible? Because I see glimpses of Dembele in him. I see glimpses of a player that you might find it really difficult to get the ball off of.
Yeah.
Do you think that it can be like... I don't know how it works at Hotspur Way, not the podcast, the actual training ground, where... I mean, if someone's there like Mason, who knows Dembele, do you think he'll say to him, listen, can you just watch these videos? And he gets out like the VHSs and he goes, shit, we don't have a VHS player. And then they ask someone in analytics to like pull up some clips and they go, I believe you can do this. Watch how he does this. Go on.
No. So, is your question?
Do you believe that he can be a Dembele? Because I think when I watched that player live, and I watched him a few times at Wembley, I never got to see him play at White Hart Lane, unfortunately. But when I was coming over and I got to see him play at Wembley, I just thought, I have never seen a footballer like this. Never in my life have I seen a footballer like this.
It's funny, like some Spurs fans don't rate Dembele because I have no idea why. I think because his output was not as high as perhaps other midfielders who scored and assisted a lot more. He for me, he's a player that kind of gelled everything together because when he did get the ball, you couldn't get the ball off him. And like every Premier League footballer would say, the most difficult player to play against was Musa, right? He was just, the ball was stuck to his feet. And that's not something you can underestimate in terms of how your team then plays. Because if you have a player who's protecting the ball and holding onto the ball, it kind of shifts everything towards the opposition goals. So you have a player that's incredibly important to the dynamic of the team. And then he'll release it to players that can create and find those diagonals and score those goals. We have a lot of those players in the team as well. Kulusevski's a little bit different, but that one trait, you bang on. That one trait is you can't often get the ball off him. And not only can't you get the ball off him, when he has the ball in these impossible positions, in the corner, at the byline, his quick feet to get past that player. And he's a big lad. And he looks a bit clumsy. He doesn't look like someone who's he's not like a Messi build or a Maradona build or someone who's gonna kind of dart and drop his shoulders and trick you. He almost ghosts past the defender, even though that defender can see him. He's literally millimeters off him, and he still can't get the ball off him. He's got a bit of everything, really. I think we are seeing that mentality monster. If you go back to when Conte had him, and he was wide, and he was pulsating, and he'd cut in, and it always looked like he was either going to score, like he did at Juve, where he curls the ball in, or he'd play a really concise pass to someone, and then he kind of lost that vibrancy out wide. and he's been in and out of form, and now Ange just found that perfect position for him, and he's all action, and he's so influential, and he's absolutely our best player. He can boss a game, and he's got that. Dare I say? I'm not comparing pound for pound, but you said Dembele, but I think he has that Bale presence in being able to make things happen, and he has an eye for goal as well. Not as spectacular, and again, not pound for pound comparison, but we've been talking about who in the team is the star player. Like we're missing a star player. Suddenly, at the moment, you're looking at him. You're looking at Maddison. Do you know what I'm saying? So these are the things that people forget about. Like stories can develop in the course of our evolution, and now we're seeing what Kulusevski is as a footballer, and he's magnificent.
I remember when Dembele came to us, and he was a forward.
Yeah,
if you want to call him that.
Yeah.
And
Just
when he came, James, do you remember? How old were you at the time?
Probably about still a fetus. Like 12, 13.
Right. So when he came to us, we didn't really know where to play him. I remember that and he was like, "What does he do?" We couldn't figure it out, and I think it took, like the word that you used, evolution. It took some time, and then he slipped back into this. I don't think there is a number for him. He wasn't a 6. He was a 6, an 8, and a 10, wrapped into one. I can't really add those numbers together. 6, 8, and 10. There you go. That's what he was, right? And I don't know. I can see Kulusevski being that, and dare I say it better, because he has something that Dembele didn't have, and that is that not only can you not really get the ball off him, like for instance, like you said it earlier, he goes down the touch, like he went down the touchline. There was a point where I knew immediately, it doesn't matter if there's 2 players on him, he's going to get past them. Somehow, I don't know how, in this simulation that we're in, I believe in simulation theory, everyone, right? So in this simulation that we're in, he will get past him, and he did. And I smiled, and I thought that was funny. And then, we got the purple and gold saying "Levy out," right? And that's he can do that. Now Dembele, yes, he did score a few times for us, but he was the orchestrator, well, not really orchestrator, but he allowed, as you said, everyone else to go forward, and then the opposition didn't know what to do, because we can't get the ball off this guy. We've got to mark this guy over here who's coming up. What do we do? And then we would come marauding forward, and that was fantastic. Do you know what I mean? That team, that 16-17 season, was out of this world. With him, at the forefront, I just would love it if someone said to him, take a look at Musa, and then why not invite Musa to the training ground? Why not? He's probably been a few times anyway. But let's bring him. I think he's retired now, isn't he? If I'm right in saying that, I think so.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah.
I'll say the other thing about Kulusevski as well, I think that's quite clever for how he plays, is he's not the quickest of players. Like, he's not a slouch, but he's not Aaron Lennon, But what he does with his pace is he uses it really well. But how he's you'll see him slow down, and then you'll see a little burst from him, and it's just those couple initial yards. With his strength, he's just so unstoppable. He's a little bit like a freight train. He'll just, once he's on it, that's it. You're not getting to him.
And I think that his evolution has allowed other players to adapt. I mean, I've seen tweaks in Maddison. Silk, that's what we call him. Bentancur for us is just Silk. He does. It's a shame because he does so much and he sort of goes unnoticed now, which is, I don't know, maybe it's due to the racism thing, maybe it's due to a lot of other things, I don't know. But not many people...
It's a good thing though, mate.
Yeah, of course
it's a good thing.
Of course it is, yeah.
Because I think every player in the team can go unnoticed. I mean, I barely thought about Kuti and Porro. And Porro had a blinding game, on I mean, they both did. And Vicario, after all the unnecessary kind of question marks on him this season. Some of them are critiques worth listening to, but he's responded really well. But then you kind of don't focus on him because you've got other players taking the spotlight, and you kind of focus on them, but you forget that we are a great team, like a great set of players rather, and we're trying to be a great team. And if you look back, you look at Luka Modric when he was at Tottenham, and he was out wide before Redknapp brought him into of all people, Redknapp brought him into the middle. Like sometimes players go on a bit of a journey, and there was a point where at the ground and in the chats, people were questioning maybe we should get rid of Kulusevski because he's just not having an impact. There's no real place for him in Postecoglou's football. So therefore, and this is us, and this is the thing about football, the finality in our opinions and decisions based on the information that we have available. But if you kind of settle back and you wait for things to play out, which I know is really difficult for some people, then things do change. And they might change for the worse, but in this case, look what's happened to Kulusevski. Look back at his story. How many times, not me, you, no one on this pod, but other people, how many times would they have thought, get rid of him, he's not working out? And now look at him. So,
but didn't they do that? Sorry to interrupt. Didn't they do that in the first few minutes? In the first few minutes of his debut.
Yes,
I remember reading it on Twitter, and I was so shocked, so shocked.
Yeah,
again,
Italian journalists, don't they? Where he says, thanks for the money.
70 million,
and Bentancur is shit. And it's just like, every season, I feel like it evolves in the response to it. And I'm so here for it. Like, just delete
but he won't. He's not taking it down. He's living off it, which is great. But, Gone Spooky, I interrupted you.
No, it's fine, mate. You know what I'm like. Once you put 10p in me, I can't stop talking. But
you're the juggernaut.
I just think that's what Kulusevski is, and that's what we kind of need. We need our best players doing the very best thing that they're capable of doing consistently, and that's the difference between being a good side with great potential to a great side with constant potential. You need Maddison not to play 15 games a season where he's on form. You need him to play 30 odd games where he's influential, and he's on it at the minute. He really is on it at the minute. The problem with Maddison is he tends to pick up an injury every season. Kulusevski, I think there are absolute levels to what he can achieve. I think he can be a world beat, like he could be someone that we think we need to sign, but we've got him already. And it's just going to be really interesting to see how this team develops over the course of the season.
Yeah, so I want to quickly talk about Timo Werner, right? I had an epiphany. It doesn't normally happen. And so when the purple and gold lot, I call them that. I don't know. I don't even know if they know what purple and gold is, to be honest with you, right? But there's 6 or 7 of them in the corner. Like the game starts, you hear the Premier League music. It's like Levy out. Really? And that's what it's like every game, right? So when they saw his name on the team sheet, they started to bitch and moan. Spooky, you know what a bunch of Cypriot old men sound like when they're moaning, right? I don't need to go into it. And what happened then was like, I thought to myself, mate, no matter what you do, you play for us. I'll smile. And even when he did what he did and he didn't score, fair enough, right? He didn't. He's not like Son. They were moaning and bitching. The more they moaned and bitched about him, the more I smiled. And I just thought, you're there for a reason. Would we have won 3-0 without him? I don't know. But he was there. He was there in the 3-0 hammering of Manchester United at Old Trafford. And that for me is enough. Yeah, I mean, would we prefer a better player? Do I know why we re-signed him on loan? I have no idea. I don't have the answers to these questions. I'm sure someone does. But he's there and he's one of us for the time being. Get off his back. I don't think it phases him either. I mean, I keep mentioning Flav, but Flav says he keeps missing the huddle. It doesn't just miss the huddle. He sometimes doesn't know where he is. Like, he comes out before pre-game and he's looking around and he walks into people. I don't know if you noticed that. Like, that's great. I think that's fucking hilarious. That's so Timo. Do you know what I mean?
the huddle thing. To be fair, I think he always does that. Like, it almost feels like he stands alone and then he gets called over. And he's done it at practically every home game that he started. It makes me think he's doing that. He's having his little moment on his own. He can't be that thick all of the time. Surely he's not that.
He's actually not
disconnected.
He's not. When you listen to him talk, he's actually quite intelligent. And for a German, he's got a bit of a sense of humour, which is rare. So what I actually think it is some players have their own little rituals before the game.
Yeah,
and his is I just want to be left alone. I've got these thoughts in my mind. I want to think about what the player I'm up against is going to be doing. Oh, I have to go to this huddle. Do you know what I mean? And it sort of ruins it for him. That's all it is. Do you know what I mean? Let's just get off his back. It is what it is. It's funny. Like we think it's funny. Everyone thinks it's funny. But yeah, like sometimes when he's looking up at the clouds and he just walks into someone, that's really funny as well. Any other comments on before we wrap this game? I mean, we can talk about all of the players, like Brennan Johnson, all of them great. Well done, mate. I'm not going to say bullying works. Everyone said that on their pods. It does in our case, in Brennan's case, but stay off his back. Do you want to say anything else before we get onto the F team?
I was just going to say a quick word for Spence. I thought it was really good, really composed when he came on.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. And on his wrong side, right? He's supposed to be on the right. Exactly. We're going to talk about Europa League. I still don't get why he was left out. And I love Ange. I love Ange. I really fucking love him. I don't get it. And if I was at the fans forum, that'd be my question. I didn't apply, but that would be. I don't understand it.
It's a weird one. I think because if we didn't put in 4-star, it would have meant something. I don't know the full ins and outs, but it's fucking weird either way. And I think going into that tournament, if we did like get into a game where it was knockout and Vicario was injured, I'd probably still want to play Forster as that person with a bit of experience. He's dog shit, but he's probably still better than Austin and Whiteman.
I think you're spot on. I'm not saying that we, as in Ange Postecoglou and his team, don't trust the youngsters, because it's Austin and Whitehead. Christ, I've forgotten his name. Who's Whiteman?
Whiteman.
Yeah, Alfie Whiteman, right? So yeah, I don't really understand the Jaymes. Actually, I think Angie explained it, and he explained it in a way that kind of still left me confused. I mean, the good thing is that in January he can bring him into the squad if necessary, especially if we sign more players in January as well. There'd be changes there. But I do know I tried reading an article about the squads and what you need to do with homegrown players and this, that, and the other.
It's difficult.
I think there were a few little complications there in terms of who to bring in. I think the Europa League would have been ideal for Spence, to be fair, because I think he could probably look to start every game in that competition. So we'll see. Again, we're not privy to all the information, and maybe it was a mistake, and that Angie's accountable for that. Maybe it wasn't, and we'll find out soon enough with the results and the performances.
Yeah. So moving on to Thursday's game against Jaymes, do you want to say their team, mate? How do you pronounce it? Is it Fed? So 1 minute. Let's we ask Bob. Right.
Oh God.
Bob.
Here we go.
Hi. Just 1 minute. Hi, Bob. You always have to say hi, Bob, otherwise he gets a bit annoyed. Hi, Bob. Who do Tottenham Hotspur play next?
I love he has to talk as he types it out.
No, it's like, because otherwise it'd be really stupid podcasting if I'm just typing away. Right, hold on a minute. He's going to tell me. And how do you pronounce their name? And so he said that we play them on the 3rd of October. And how do
you need the phonetic pronunciation.
I'm going to try and do it. Their name.
Is it Ferencvaros?
Ferencvaros. Okay. So here we go. Okay. So it's F-E-H, Fer, and then he's put a dash, Rents, dash, V-A-H, Va, dash, Rosh. So it's Ferencvaros. I was right. Ferencvaros.
Okay.
So Ferencvaros. There you go.
Okay. get your passport tomorrow now.
Wow, he's actually given a whole explanation as well. Oh, fuck, I'm not going to read that out. That's boring. All right, cheers, Bob. I haven't actually typed that. Right, what do we make? First of all, has anyone done their homework on them? The only thing I know is that they were the Hungarian champions, and they speak Hungarian. At least some of the players do. That's all I know about them. Yeah, I don't know honestly, I don't know anything else about them. I have seen them play in either the Champions League or heard of them before. I don't even know if we've played them before. Speaking, do you know?
I have no idea, mate. Listen, I'm going to put my hands up and say that with these Europa League games, genuinely, I don't care. I don't care. Again, I don't care about, we're playing Roma. Am I going to look at the table in Italy to see where they're at and who plays for them? I'm not worried about the opposition. I'm more concerned. It's enough for me to know if we put out a decent team, we're going to be competitive, and it's no disrespect to any other football club that we're playing in these early games. If you look back at the Europa League and Tottenham, it's never been a great tournament because it's felt like this chore, it's felt like this obstacle, and managers have disrespected the competition. And that's why we've been deflated on the pitch and off the pitch watching Spurs play in the Europa League, in the Conference League over the past several years, because it's just not something we've taken seriously. So it's up to Spurs to give us a buzz, really. We kind of got one in the last game. A slightly unnecessary drama with late kick-off and the red card. Some of these games coming up, we're going to Turkey soon, are going to be a lot more difficult, and we're going to have to take it a lot more serious, and that's up to Tottenham. So I have no idea the quality of the football they play. They're meant to be quite decent, but Karabag were decent last season. They nearly beat Leverkusen in the game, right?
Yeah.
So I think you just have to want to win the games, and if you want to win the games, you have to play a team with a backbone and a spine. So not 8 or 9 changes. Games are coming thick and fast. I do worry that one of these games is not going to go our way because of the fact that we're going to get stretched at some point. And we just have to be ready for that, I guess. Hopefully that isn't this Thursday. But until the game kicks off, do you know what I'm saying? Not the greatest podcasting prep from me in terms of this team, but I wager if you ask most Spurs fans, they'd be like, "Oh, I don't know, mate. I don't know." There's the voice. See, I can do it. I can do it when I'm in character. I can't do it when I'm put on the spot. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I've never heard of this team before. God, if we lose though, Levy's done. Outside the club shop on Sunday, even though we're playing at Brighton, I'm going to be outside the club shop. Sorry.
So what would be like a realistic? Let me rephrase the question. I've heard some geeks say, and I believe them because whenever a geek talks, I want to listen. Where they say that if we can get 9 points out of the 3 games that we're playing, we're sort of through. I've not looked at it, but that's what they've said. I believe them. Knowing that, how many changes do you think Anne should make? Should he go with a similar team to Karabag, or more like Coventry change? No. Right, yeah, good. I mean, that was a bit of a leading question. It was quite easy to answer. But
that was a disaster, right? The Coventry game, because of that reason.
Yeah.
If he does that again, I mean, he won't during the course of the season. But the reason that was a disaster as well is because none of the players had played that much football, and they had not played together, right? So, if you imagine in 20 games time and the amount of rotation that's going to happen, and if we replay Coventry with that same team, we'll probably slap them, to use that technical term, because the players will be more than fresh, more than ready, more than match fit, and they will know how to play with the players they're playing with in terms of structure, even with 9 changes. I think it came too early in the season and we got away with it. like I said, we've got to treat these games with a bit of respect, and you got to protect that momentum, and you got to protect. Just start strong and make substitutions with Brighton in mind. You know, it's that simplistic. I don't know why managers never do this, but again, they know more about football than I do. So,
yeah, I mean, I would love to know how they did it actually. For instance, because they have a plan on training, right? And even though Ange says we just play one way, we do, but there's a lot to that. Right? There's a lot deeper meaning to that. There are tweaks to playing, and you tweak it per team that you're playing, per the opposition, right? So I'd love to know that this week, so it's Tuesday today, they've got Wednesday, I don't know, do they train, maybe light training on Thursday, we're flying out there. They'll probably train a bit before they fly, then what is it, a 2-hour flight, I'd say, from the UK, 2.5, I don't know what it is, right? 3 hours, I'm not too sure, right? And then probably some really light training there at the stadium, like really light, and then when they're back, Friday's obviously a day off. Then they've got Saturday. So do they just train? And again, it can't be like full-on training if they've got a game on Sunday. So at which point do they say, right, guys, we're doing this now for Ferencvaros, and now we're doing this for Brighton? Or doesn't it work that way? Do any of you have the answer to that? Of how it works?
I've got no idea. I think they try and combine a bit in between. But I think the main thing is, especially with Ange, is like we don't hear much about the sort of tactical preparation for games because it's all based on his way, his football, and he feels that as long as he plays his way, he'll get the win. Remember how many times you see under Conte that players have to go for about 19 hours of like video analysis preparation before a game? I don't think it goes anywhere like that. I think they just train as normal and then tweak slight bits about the game. So I think like against Brentford we saw Maddison come out wide a little bit more and Son stay a little bit more central, and so I think it's just a case of we've got the formula but he'll just slightly tweak the dosages, so to speak, rather than completely ripping up the rule book.
That's spot on, mate. I completely agree. But the other thing as well is, and you kind of touched upon it, there's a lot of dumbing down with Postecoglou by the journos at the press conferences and by Spurs fans and rival supporters too. It's like people in those thought camps, so to speak, think that it's really basic football. Like, just get out there and play an attack and do A, B, and C, and that's what we're going to do every single game without any tactical adjustments. But we did. We made those tactical adjustments in the Brentford game. They're very subtle, but quite obvious as well if you know what you're looking out for. If you're looking at the starting positions and where players are when you're transitioning from midfield to attack, where your fullbacks are they fullbacks or are they wingbacks? Is there no space for the opposition team to attack and leave us dangerously open, which is a problem that we had last season? And that wasn't really the case. It was a chaotic game against Brentford in some parts, but we did make adjustments. So to dumb down Ange Postecoglou as this kind of PE teacher coach is insulting, and probably he kind of doesn't offer the information up. And because the journos stick with the distractions that he gives everyone with his philosophy and his ethos, often he's not really being questioned on those kind of really precise tactical changes. And he probably likes that because it means that we can just go about our business. We will play differently, no doubt, on Thursday to how we play on Sunday, and the adjustments might be minor, but it's the thing that synergizes everything, right? That's important. So between now and the weekend, I think most of the prep work is conditioning, based on who he plans to kind of play. And I think if you're making a lot of changes for the Thursday game, then you're likely will have to make changes in how we kind of shape up, right? Because if you're not playing Mickey van der Ven, for example, then you haven't got that pace out of defence into midfield and attack. So you're going to have to look to adapt things. But it'd be interesting. And it is very interesting, really, to this early in the season as well. Because at some point, we're going to have to stop saying that, because it will no longer be, it will no longer be give it another 5 games to see where we are. At some point in the next 10, 15, we will know how good this team is, and we'll understand just how much depth there is to Ange Postecoglou's football, depending on the opposition and the occasion. So, sorry that I don't know anything about the opposition.
No, it's fine, mate.
It's I couldn't even tell you the type of football they play. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's you need to be bloody hell. You need to be really obsessively into football to keep an eye on absolutely everything. I just do not have the time to worry about I barely worry about Premier League opposition. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Let alone a Hungarian team.
Well, I'll tell you who does have the time and the know-how. It's the analytics team. So one thing that Ali Gold said, I can't remember which player it was about, where they had said to Postecoglou, this player, I can't remember who it was, ex-player, and he immediately said, let me see the analysis. And they said, well, we don't have it. And he said, well, that's got to change. And so he wasn't interested in him. He wanted to see the analysis, and that maybe brought about the change that we went down a complete analysis pathway. And so if that's happening, then I guarantee that we've got an analysis team who is looking at how they play, and then they present these facts to the coaching team, and they say, right, okay, so here are the tweaks then. We know about these are the dangerous players. These are the players who are maybe strong in the dressing room and like who are leaders. How do we deal with them? And so this is all being taken care of. So basically what I'm trying to say is none of us should really care, because all this work is being done in the background. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah. And look, at the end of the day, it's football, and if you look at the Premier League, for example, like in terms of fitness, they're all athletes, right? Physically, and the difference is not just in the ability of the players, but in those kind of tactical formations and that kind of scientific element. To think that Ange Postecoglou doesn't lean into that, and to think that Spurs don't lean into that, it's poor form. Just because he says mate, just because he comes across as someone that just wants to be gung-ho and plays the high line and plays kind of high-risk football. It's not really high-risk football, though, if it starts churning out results consistently. It becomes punishing football at that point. So, good luck to the journals and the media if they want to continue to dumb everything down, because it just means people don't look too deeply into how we're, formulating things. So,
because of all of that, then we won't give any predictions, because we know half. I mean, we know 50% of what's going to happen, or then again we don't. I mean, we don't even know who's going to play. I suppose we could go a bit funny. Right, Jaymes, what's your prediction, mate? Remember, you don't know anything about this team. We're playing away to the Hungarian champions.
God, if this was Mourinho or Conte era, it could easily go one way or another. Like, it could be a Mur again. Who was that random team who played in the Europa League? That doesn't help things, does it?
Lask?
It might be Lask, yeah. That was a fucking horror show. I think we should be fine, though. And we'll probably... I don't think it's going to be an easy game.
How can you say that? You don't know anything about them.
I don't know. It's just away in Europe, some random Hungarian team. It's just, I don't know. It's got like the makings of like a grindy win, like a bit like Karabag was. Like it's not going to be easy. Like we'll probably win 3-4-0, but it's not going to be an easy 3 or 4-0 if that makes sense.
Spooky, over to you. Just give any prediction, mate. I mean, it's pointless.
I'm going to go 2-1 Tottenham. I am really. I think these games are tests. Like it's a different type of experience. The concern that I would have, the caveat, is how strong are we going to line up? If it's the team that played on Sunday against Man United, we will comfortably win. It's not going to be that team. So there's going to be a drop-off. And the concern isn't so much what we do in midfield and attack, it's how we defend. Romero's going to play in this game, right? Because we just don't have another option. Am I right in saying that? He didn't. It wasn't a too much ban, was it?
No, it's
too
a
much
one
ban.
game.
No, it was
It's a
a
one
double
game.
yellow. One game.
Fine. So he plays, and that gives me a bit more confidence in the defensive side. So we're still in for a cheeky little 2-1.
Do you want to hear something funny? So I've been talking to Bob, and he basically gave a truncated version of what you've just said. Then I said, I need a prediction. Again, he waffled, and I said, I just need one prediction. All right, I'll go with 2-1 win for Tottenham. Their recent performances suggest they have the edge, but Ferencváros might put up a fight at home. So there you go. Cheers, Bob. Right, we don't have much time. We've been going over an hour now, so we'll cover Brighton in the next 5 minutes, and then we're done.
We have got a question first.
Go on.
And it is for you, James, for once.
Okay.
I believe. Comes from our good friend George. Don't follow 1882. He'd like to go. My question is, following last week's pod, I created a Tinder profile for James, and I just need to know when you're back in the UK to meet some of these lovely ladies I've lined up for you.
Well, if you have, me and you need to have a word, because I said no Tinder profiles for me. Thank you very much. And
Only Grinder.
That's the end of that. I'm married to a Lebanese woman. You have no idea what she'll do to me and George. She'll put us in a shawarma sandwich. I mean, that's anyway. Moving on. Brighton. We do know something.
Look like a fucking shawarma sandwich after, mate.
We do know something about Brighton. And Spooky, are you worried about this one?
No. I'm looking forward to it. I think last season we kind of got slumped, and then we came back into the game. But I'm trying to untether myself from what happened at the back end of last season. We're a different type of team. I think they're Brighton are underperforming based on the expectation that people have for them. But they like to play football, so I think it's going to be quite an open game, and it is going to come down to who takes their chances. I mean, Jesus, this is like the worst punditry you've ever heard. Like, that's football, isn't it? Really, if you got the ball, score. Otherwise, you're not going to win. Like with Spurs, we have seen what we've been capable of in every game, XG wise. Often XG hasn't actually been that high, but we've had so much of the ball in and around the penalty area, and have been quite passive and quite untidy. But now it's beginning to click. So I think this could be a really good performance from Spurs again, and I can see us winning, and I can just see that confidence being kind of consolidated, and we're just gonna go on a bit of a run in terms of the Premier League, and what will probably happen, mate. This is going beyond Brighton. Is I'm going to start worrying about when are we going to slump, because every team has that moment in the season where injuries or whatever kind of hits their form, and last season it was the back end of the season that cost us Champions League. I think slow start, strong middle, and I think a fairly strong end to the season. I think that run starts now.
Right, so I've got a question for both of you. James, do you think that Ange is going to score a guy who could be, well, he's old enough to be his son?
Look, Brighton are pushovers. I think that's the bottom line of it. And, they give teams a real good game. It doesn't matter who they play. It's a bit like us in a way. Like, they stick to their principles, and that's been them probably since they've come to the Premier League. Maybe a bit of a slightly different time with Graham Potter, but I think, like you mentioned, we are a different team to what we were last year. Before under Conte, under Mourinho and Poch, when we struggled against them as well. We're a different team now, and I think we'll probably have just a little bit too much for them, especially with the injuries they've got. They've got Van Hecke out, Pedro out, O'Reilly out, Adingra. They've got a lot of their big players out.
Did you say João Pedro's out?
Yeah,
is that what you said? He's one of their best players, though, isn't he? I think he's a great striker. Yeah. So
this is good. This is good.
It is good, isn't it? See why we got him on, Spook. He knows he's a stats nonce. He is deep down.
I am. I hide in the basement.
So
just that in a way.
So basically, if we win on Sunday, the question on Monday is going to be: is it because Brighton are rubbish? United were rubbish. Yeah, Brighton are now going to be rubbish. So really, we're not really getting to see how good Spurs are, because Spurs need to play peak Barcelona every week to prove that they're a good football team.
Mate, if we can stay under the radar, I'm all right with it. I mean, I don't care.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Let's just stay under the radar. Let's not pile on that pressure.
Apparently, guys, Dorrington didn't play for the academy tonight.
No, he didn't. That's a cracking game going on.
I don't know if it's just an injury thing or if he's pulled into the Euro squad. Is he in the Euro squad? I think he can play because he's young enough, right? He doesn't have to be registered.
Yeah. Mate, when I used to read your blog in like 2005, 2006, you used to hate the ITK nonsense. What is this ITK that you?
It's not ITK. It's literally he didn't play. He wasn't in the starting lineup or on the subs bench. So
you're saying he's going to partner Romero? Then that's what you're saying, right?
Well, who knows? I mean, that's the positive way of looking at it. Otherwise, he could have just tweaked his whatever, and he's just not fit to play for the academy.
Right. But, and last quick question before I get to the predictions, and we're done. Brighton is the last game before another boring round of international fixtures. And this is a really leading question, Spook. How important is it that we win? That we go into this international break with a win?
It's important, regardless of the international break. If you're going to wet the bed because we drop points against Brighton, then that you're choosing to be miserable for that week of international football. You're choosing to allow dropped points to be the end of the world when it's just football. Sometimes you can play really well and not win. Sometimes you can play really well and draw. Sometimes you can play really well and lose. I've already said that, but you get my point. It's 38 games in a season.
Exactly.
Like, we can't skip the 38 games. We have to live through week to week. We've had international breaks stop us from continuing good form in the past, which is even more frustrating. It's important, I think, in order to ground the people that are losing and wobble and do wobble and are very incapable of controlling their emotions, because the expectation in their head is so high and it's so relentless that they feel that it's the end of the world because we've lost, and now everyone else has to deal with the noise off the back of it. Just log off social media if it bothers you, to be fair. And if you're someone who wants to moan for the whole week, the people that have logged off won't know you exist. So that's my advice. I'd like us to win Thursday and on Sunday, because I want Tottenham to win every game, but I also know that's not going to happen throughout the entirety of the season, because that's just how football plays out.
What's your prediction then? What's your prediction for Sunday?
For the Brighton game?
Yeah.
3-1 Tottenham.
Ooh. James?
Do you know what? Maybe even 3-0.
Ooh, spicy.
Like
James, what about you, mate?
I'm feeling 3-1 for Tottenham.
I'm going for a clean sheet, 2-0. If they're without their best player and striker, and they are sort of struggling a bit, 2-0. So Hannah for Thursday says 4-0 to us, and 2-1 on Sunday. Josh is shagging his new bird, so he probably won't see this message until after Sunday. Look, last thing, I hope that Maddison gets a call up to the England squad. I think he needs it. I think it will be the cherry on top of his performances recently, and good luck to the guy. Spooky, where can we find you? I mean, I know where we can find you.
So, obviously, I'm still on Twitter. I don't know for how much longer. So that's at Spooky23. really difficult to let go of a platform where I've got over like 20,000 followers, and I do actually like a lot of people that are on Twitter, and there's a lot of big accounts, the data accounts and one or two other football accounts. So it's hard to kind of walk away from it, but moderate yourself, use the mute button, and your experience on Twitter can be okay. If you can look past Elon Musk, then you can survive it. On Blue Sky, which is a Twitter-esque, without the toxic culture, social media platform, I am at dearmrlevy.com. If you do go to Blue Sky, there's actually a pack, like a welcoming pack that you can access, that gives you a list of all the Spurs supporters you need to follow, and off the back of that, then you can, find other accounts. And then I'm on Patreon as well, patreon.com/spooky in purgatory.
You've got to subscribe to that, guys. It's the cost of 3/4 of a pint.
If that, yeah.
3/4 of a pint at Tottenham. It's well worth it. It's two pods a week now?
Yeah, I mean,
your bare bones and your filthy shambles.
Yeah, it should be even more than that. The last month and a bit has been chaos, back in the real world. So now that I'm back at a relaxed mode and setting, I'll be able to churn out the content a lot more often. So yeah, a lot of behind the paywall content and filthy shambles, early access to that podcast.
And the guys who are on there, they're great as well. Filthy Shambles, Dan, Adam, myself. Who else?
No. a little bit of a self-promotion there.
But no.
I was going to mention you, but you just mentioned yourself. I was like, fair enough. This guy's confident.
No, I'm joking. Honestly,
I'm joking.
It's one of the best pods out there. I can say that honestly. Like Fighting Cock, Filthy Shambles, even Bare Bones. I know how difficult it is to talk by yourself into a mic. I tried to do the reaction pods on this pod, and I can't do it, mate. I ran out of things to say. So for you to talk, and it's quality content for like half an hour, and it's like you're talking to me. That's how it feels. That's why I carry on. Do
you know the secret? Do you know the secret to it? When I sit down to do Bare Bones, and this is no word of a lie, even after all these years, so it's a solo podcast. I am not Bill Burr, right? There's a lot of top stand-up comedians that do solo pods, and they're fucking hilarious, and they can talk for an hour and a half, and you're compelled to listen to the end. So when I sit down to do it, it's how you start the podcast. So I sometimes start, and within 30 seconds to a minute, I stop and delete and start again, because I'm thinking that was absolute trash. I've tried to be funny, and I've gone off on a tangent that's meaningless. I've got to start again. And the moment you get it right, which could be the third or the fourth time, it flows after that point. And the other secret is not just start well, but take a breather and pause. And so if you're recording, just pause yourself, have a look at your notes, and then continue the conversation, because it is quite difficult. I've done pods in one take, so to speak, one recording. But there's got to be a lot of stuff that you've got to refer back to. Do you know what I'm saying? And that you're not repeating yourself. So it is very, very difficult. And to be fair as well, sometimes it's a hard sell. Some people are like, I ain't going to listen to that geezer talk for 30 minutes of Spooky talking to himself. Who the fuck does he think he is? Leave me out. So you've got to know what you're talking about. You've got to feel like, I've really got to talk about this. I've got to talk about this. And often it is off the back of a performance, or it's off the back of something that's actually happened that's antagonised you, So I will probably record one after the game on Thursday as a reaction. So there'll be a lot of content to be able to source from when that happens.
Great point. I thought you were going to tell us that you rubbed one out, but the two.
No. That's a mistake.
Right.
If you do,
you've tried it. Tried it. Okay. Right.
Listen, you don't want to lose that energy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you've got to use that energy to to pull your way through before you pull yourself off. So, like, just don't do that before, because you'll end up, it won't be a good performance. So that's what I'm saying.
Glorious. Right. Say goodbye, Spook.
It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's all ours. Say goodbye, James.
Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
And goodbye for me.